next season. And Jovan, you're up first. Number one, will Luka 2.0 be the best in the world? Who are you asking that question to?
I'm just asking the question to the universe here. And I say will because I specifically chose will instead of can, because I think he can be the best player in the world. I think the question for me is, will he be? So let's go back 2 years ago. Luka averages 34 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, 10 assists per game, and leads Dallas, the 5 seed, to the NBA Finals, where they lose to Boston, who I think is one of the best teams of the millennium. Like, that was a loaded team with all these wings and stuff that could match up well with Luka and Dallas. But that player, to me, was the second best player in the world behind Jokic, who I think has had this run here the last few years. But Luka could, if he gets back to that level, like, could contend for being the best player in the league. He was third in MVP that year. So if he takes another step with this Luka 2.0, this new body and this transformation that he's undergone, and I think also being in a rhythm from playing in Eurobasket, like, if he is the best player in the world, that to me changes the Lakers' ceiling. Maybe not in the regular season per se, maybe they're still kind of in that like 3, 4, 5 mix, but come playoff time, if he's the best player in the world, they have a shot against anybody, including OKC. So I think that to me is the biggest question of, like, I think it always comes back to how great your best player is, and typically the best player in a series wins that series, as long as the talent is relatively close. So if Luka's the best player in the world, the Lakers can beat anybody.
You know who could help complement Luka? DeAndre Ayton. That's where you're going.
Is Ayton the answer? You know, I try as hard as I can. I still can't forget that Game 5 in the first round last season. Rudy Gobert, 27 points and 24 rebounds. The Lakers needed a center. I mean, obviously, Jackson Hayes didn't play 1 minute in that game. We didn't see him after halftime in Game 4, the rest of the series. And DeAndre, look, he went away for a couple of years, kind of got lost in the center shuffle up in Portland. Not a real spectacular couple of years up in the Pacific Northwest. But this is a situation where it's really setting up for him to be a prime performer like he was a few years ago when he helped Phoenix get to the NBA Finals. Then he had a big contract offer after that. He wanted to go to Indiana. Phoenix ended up matching it, and the rest is history. He hasn't quite been the same since that season, with Luka and LeBron trying to feed him in that post, get him involved in pick and rolls again. I think he's going to have a nice season.
With all this talk about Luka, your next question, will LeBron remain top 10 in this league?
So I say will again, because I think he can. We just saw it. He just finished 6th in MVP, 6th in All-NBA voting. I voted for him, first team All-NBA on that 5th spot.
Do you want to close more deals as soon as next week, possibly? Now, when I say more deals, here's what I mean. I mean 2, 3, 4 times what you're doing now, even if you're already doing decent. Let's say that
first team All-NBA on that 5th spot, 5th in MVP on my ballot. So I think unequivocally LeBron was a top 10 player by basically any measure last season. But I think when we look at, again, the Lakers' ceiling, I think they need LeBron to be at basically the same level or as close to it as possible. Like, if we just say he was like the 8th or 9th best player, for argument's sake, this season, if he slips to like the 18th best player, it doesn't sound like a big slippage. But that, to me, I think also changes the Lakers' ceiling, where I think if Luka is a top 3 guy or maybe even the best guy, and then LeBron's also somewhere in that like 8 to 12 range, now you're cooking with something where you can maybe paper over some of the defensive questions we have or some of the depth questions we have at this roster. If LeBron's like 18 to 22, still a great player, still an all-star, still maybe even a third-team All-NBA guy, I think your ceiling is a little bit lower and your margin for error in a playoff series is a little bit lower. So I just wonder can he maintain that? I think he can, and there's really no reason to expect any slippage from him, but it is just fair to ask, you're 23, 41 years old. At some point, he's going to slip 3 to 5%, and if that happens next season, I think the Lakers' ceiling's a little bit lower.
Defensive expectations.
Allie, how's that defense going to be? If you go back to 6 months ago, the day of the Luka trade, think of all the people the Lakers have lost since then defensively. Up-and-comer Max Christie, obviously Anthony Davis, Dorian Finney-Smith, lost him a month ago to free agency. So who's going to replace these guys? And the Laker defense really was struggling towards the end of last season. Marcus Smart, nice pickup. We'll see what he can do. Jackson Hayes, I like him back in a reserve center role, no doubt about it. Ayton, let's face it though, a better defensive player than Jackson Hayes. Not a great shot blocker. Can he improve upon his career average of 1 block shot a game? You would think so. You would hope so, since he is going to get plenty of time. So the Lakers, I'm sure, would love to be able to play him 33 to 35 minutes a game. There's not a ton of centers on the roster, but can that defense really hold up? Because I feel like Minnesota really ground down that Laker D in the playoffs.
The first 10 games of the season for the Lakers. The Lakers will open the season at home with 2 national TV games. October 21st, it's on NBC against the Warriors. Then the 24th on Prime, it's a playoff rematch against the Timberwolves. The first back-to-back of the year has the Lakers traveling to Sacramento and then returning home to face the Trailblazers. Then it's 2 more national TV games against Minnesota and Memphis. That Halloween game against the Grizzlies opens group play for the NBA Cup. Miami, Portland, San Antonio, and Atlanta round out the first 10 games. So let's start with opening night. Doesn't get much better. I feel like we say it all the time. LeBron versus Steph. I think at the end of the day, you don't know how many more we have left between the two of them. So to tip it off with these two, what's not to like?
Primetime matchup. LeBron versus Steph, round, I don't even know at this point, 20-something, 30-something. But anytime these two guys face off, I mean, these are the 2 greatest players of the past 15 years, right? In their respective positions, 2 all-time greats. I think 2 top 12, top 10 NBA players of all time. So we've seen so many classic matchups between these two, and just Lakers-Warriors is always fun. You got NorCal versus SoCal, and the Bay versus LA, and so I'm excited for opening night.
And by the way, later in the season, 8 months from now, they might be fighting for like a little playoff spot. I could see both these teams kind of fighting for a 4 or 5 seed in the West, maybe a little higher if things break well for them, maybe a little lower if things don't break well for them. But I think they're going to be right around the same little tier in the Western Conference. So why not start it off on opening night? Like you said, Allie, how many more times are we going to see Steph versus LeBron on the court? At least 4 times this year. And hopefully everyone's all healthy when these games do happen. And let's start in October on opening night.
We're going to start with the first 10 games. I'm going to get your guys' prediction after the first 10 games, and we will fact check you. We will have this. Brez, you'll be up first. Obviously, you've got a couple of T-Wolves matchups, some Blazer matchups in there. You've got the Cup games that are starting, which you know what that brings in terms of intensity. I think only 5 games versus the Lakers, or that they have in the first 10, or versus teams that were in the postseason last year. What do you have them after the first 10?
So unlike, I feel like the last few years, the first 10 games are actually kind of favorable for the Lakers. They're going to pay for it later in the year, aka basically an 8-game road trip for the Grammy trip. And some tough games towards the end of the season, late March, early April. But I think they go 7-3 to start the season. All right, I liked a couple home games to start it. I think you beat Golden State at home. I think you beat Minnesota at home. I don't think you beat Minnesota on the road or a little bit later in those first 10 games. I think a road game at Atlanta, keep in mind, this team is not really good on the road. So I'm not going to be too bullish on their road games early in the season until they show us that indeed they are much better on the road than they were last season. This team was so good at home a year ago, not as great on the road. But bottom line, the headline, the big picture nugget is that it's actually an easier start to the season in the last few years than I can remember, Jovan.
I think that's key, and not have them going 7-3 as well. So I think they're going to lose at Minnesota, at Atlanta, and then I think they're going to split one of the first 2 with Minnesota and Golden State. We have seen them have some stinkers on opening night. That's kind of been like a Lakers tradition going back like a decade or so. So I think I could see that potentially happening on opening night versus Golden State. But I think they'll start 1-1, then win a few games, lose at Minnesota, win another few games, and then lose at Atlanta.
So you've got them winning at Memphis. That's the one where I was like, you know what? Memphis obviously giving up on Desmond Bane, kind of blowing up the program, so to speak. I'm not sure they win that one. But yeah, the one right in the middle there at Minnesota, that's trouble. I think that at Hawks game late in that 10-game stretch, that's trouble too. And I'm not sure about that Memphis game right in the middle in the 6th spot right there. That could be tough for the Lakers.
It's not within the first 10 games, but Mike Trudell does a great breakdown of the schedule every season over on Lakers.com. And just one fun fact as we dive into the schedule throughout this show, the Lakers will travel 43,000 miles over the course of this season. But how about this? It's 1,000 miles less than a season ago, and it's 8,000 miles fewer than the most traveled team in the Western Conference.
Could be worse, I guess.
We know what the West looks like.
This week, we're hosting a free trading and investing workshop right here in Irvine. Inside this workshop, you'll learn
The most traveled team in the Western Conference.
Could be worse, I guess.
We know what the West looks like.
Now, the Lakers and Warriors, they spent the summer